When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Well, the first one is the Beatles, isn't it? Obviously, because they're the most famous bands ever to come out of Liverpool, probably one of the most famous bands in the world. After the Beatles, you've got other famous bands like Jerry and the Pacemakers, Searchers. More later on, you've got Cast, the Christians.
Things like Jerry and the Pacemakers. Recently, I was a big fan of Cast when I was growing up.
Yeah, it's a totally different game these days. There's so much going on the internet, and so many ways of selling your music now. It's not that easy to actually get through. But I think the standard of musicians today is certainly as high as it's ever been. And the difference with the musicians today, unlike in the 60s and 70s, well mainly the 60s, all the bands were doing other people's songs. Today the bands write all their own music.
I don't think they've necessarily got the same exposure that some of the more famous bands from Liverpool have got, but that doesn't mean that they're not producing quality.
The music came from the Mersey beat, that's how it all started. So it was all, as I said before, it was Jerry the Pacemakers and the Beatles and the Searchers, and they started everything off. Which today, the music today, it's similar to everywhere. It's back in the 60s, Liverpool had its own type.
The Beatles kind of changed things for everybody, changed fashion in music, that's all, and Liverpool was the place to come from.
Well, it's a very different feel. It's bigger, it's more expensive. The Echo Arena is fantastic. See why it would attract quality musicians and also help to develop quality musicians in Liverpool who would aspire to play there, but actually, as great as the Echo Arena is, sometimes you can't beat the feel of a small venue. I mean, we all know that romantic picture of the Beatles playing in a Cavern, and some of my favourite places to go and watch live music over the years in Liverpool have been places like Hannah's Bar, the O2 Academy, you know, places that aren't big, glamorous venues like the Echo Arena, but are feel a bit more authentic, you feel a bit closer. So I think the Echo Arena is brilliant for attracting big international artists, and Liverpool needs that. But I don't think you can beat the pubs and clubs.
Before the Echo Arena was built, we started famous people playing, but it was only in small arenas or pop arenas like the Summer Pops, and they would be playing the Empire or the Royal Court. But now, because the Echo Arena is a proper arena, it attracts worldwide famous people. So it's more famous people now than obviously years ago, which we didn't have the facilities.
Well, it's totally different, obviously, because there'll be musicians who never get to play in an arena.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a lot of people saying that playing in an arena, you haven't got the same warmth, you've not got the same closeness.
Yeah.
But of course, you've got a magic response from the crowd.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about places that hold 8, 9, 10,000 people, you know. And of course, you'll have spectacular stage shows, everything. Where on a local pub, you just have the old couple of microphones and a couple of amplifiers. Yeah. You know, but the atmosphere is great because you're right on top of your audience.
The Echo Arena was 10,000 people, and the Cavern, where we all came from, the Cavern, when it was packed, the Cavern, the walls would stream with condensation. Really, it was awful. But it was ours. It was kind of, you know, it was our club. It was all about music.
Yeah.
And that was maybe 400 people, maybe 5, and it was absolutely packed downstairs.
I don't think that they do, because I think Liverpool's music scene has got its own identity and it exists separately from the Beatles, and I think it's strong enough to exist on its own had the Beatles never even existed.
There'll always be an example that's thrown up when you're talking about Liverpool music. But Liverpool music is too varied for any one person to own it.
And you go to any pub in Liverpool today, any club, into a bar, you'll hear Beatles songs.
The Cavern Club opened originally in 1957. It was a jazz club. Jazz fizzled out. It went to skiffle music. Skiffle turned into rock and roll. That's when the Beatles became massive at the Cavern. The Beatles played. First gig was 21st of February 1961. The last gig was the 3rd of August 1963, and they played 292 times. Plus, we had more famous bands playing, like The Who, the Rolling Stones, Elton John, and lately we've had Adele, Jessie J, Jake Bugg, Oasis.
Which like stars have appeared on BBC Radio Merseyside over the years?
Oh, lots of Elton John in, we've had Paul McCartney in, we had John Major in.
So in BBC Radio Merseyside, is it still as popular today as it was when it first began?
It is, and it's much harder, of course, because when we first began, there was only a couple of radio stations and a couple of local stations.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are many other choices.
During your time at the Cavern Club, what big music and bands used to play there?
Well, there were lots of them. The Rolling Stones played there, Elton John played there, all of the Merseybeat bands played there, of course. We had a lot of big names from America, the Drifters, the Platters, the Exciters, we had Rufus Thomas, we had Solomon Burke, Benny King, lots of big American acts, lots of big British acts. We had the Yardbirds there, and nearly every band who became anything appeared at the Cavern.
Watch Jerry, watch the Rainbow Four, watch Rory Storm. And these guys, I'll be 15 thinking, wow, the Denisons, these guys are really good. You watch the Beatles, I saw the Beatles in 62 at the Cavern. I was 15 years old, and I was at the back of and the Cavern was absolutely packed, you jammed. The girls in the front row, I played the Cavern a year later with the Hideaways, but then I was only 15, and the front row seats, the stage was 2 feet. So you look up, there's Paul McCartney and John Lennon, they were 4 feet from you. You couldn't get closer than that. And in an arena, you're way back. There's a screen, a huge stage. It's them and us. You're so far apart. The Beatles, August 63 would have been the last Beatle gig. I think it was about 25 pence.
I think the Liverpool music scene has grown dramatically after the Beatles started. It's increased, it showed mainstream artists can start in Liverpool and they can perform in the Echo Arena.
Ever since the Beatles, back in the 60s, music has changed in Liverpool dramatically from them through to today, which are the Zootons.
What I know of it, I think it's still quite vibrant, but I think with having such a big band like the Beatles in the past, it's going to be difficult to match that.
The Liverpool music scene was pretty good. I thought back in the day when Beatles were around, it was always get up and go and everyone was listening to the music because it was so good, and it's still around now and everyone still listens to it.
I think it's been quite successful over the years, and obviously you had big bands like the Beatles and things like that. It's had quite a big influence over the years on music as a whole.
The music scene in Liverpool was full of a lot of local talent. People like the Beatles, going from pub to pub, place to place, trying to promote their music, get it out there. Now it's more well known as being a big city of culture where everyone goes to. They've got the Echo Arena.
It's similar in a lot of ways. Live music has always been an important thing to the city of Liverpool, to the people of Liverpool, to the nightlife in Liverpool. And it was the same back then, and it's the same now. So you've got some amazing venues now that host live music, EBGBs, Camp and Furnace. But I think because it's so important to the city, live music, I think it will always have a vibrant live music scene.
I think it was more easier to become famous years ago and to get a band contract. It was easy to get more limelight. Now there's that many bands, it's more difficult now.
We've always made sure we were open to the local bands to try and get the music played, because I regard that as part of what we're here for.
What's changed? The venues have changed. Venues have gone, sadly, and they won't come back. But what's here now is great for the young bands.